Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I am your co-host Maria Casillas, joined by my co-host Cody Sizemore. We are thrilled to have you here today, and we have quite a lengthy topic actually that we want to talk about. So we're going to I was going to say we're just going to skip all the niceties, but we won't. We'll get right to them and then we'll go through them really quickly. We just want to say thank you to each of you who is joining us today. Every time you click that button to listen, it lets us and other people know that you're interested in the content that we're providing. And so we just want to say thank you for that feedback. We really appreciate that. We also want to remind you to join our Facebook group if you have not yet already. It is the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits. And we look forward to seeing you and others there as well. And today we're going to just jump right in because I'm telling you the amount of stuff that we're going to have to talk about today is a little bit heavy, and it's going to be something you're going to want paper and a pencil for, and you're going to want to take lots of notes because I just know you're going to want to. So I'm going to actually ask Cody something, and I know he's going to just throw all of the information at us. So without further ado, Cody, first of all, how are you today? Keep it short. Good.
I'm great. That's it.
You're great. We're good. Let's go. I saw the other day that you had posted something about one of your free masterclasses, and I know that you do this often, and so it probably doesn't seem like why are we talking about this today? I admittedly did not have a chance to delve into all of the different comments and stuff that you were getting. I know you were getting some traction from the post, but what I saw was the post had said something about I just did my free masterclass and it was super successful. I have all of these people who came on board, and so I'm just wondering how you would feel about sharing some of the secrets that you have with our audience today about maybe how to set up a masterclass, how to market it, how to get people in the seats. What do you do from there? What kind of information do you give? How do you then call to action for them so that they want to join your stuff? Are you feeling comfortable with all of that?
I'm down for anything.
Awesome.
You just tell me what you want to know and
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Awesome. Well, I want to know, first of all, I'm positive that this is a free masterclass. So I want to know, what was the title of your masterclass so that our audience can get an idea of what it is that you're actually putting out for your audience.
Yeah. So I have done a few different titles in the past. So one of them was Master Your Money, 5 Simple Shifts to Rapidly Eliminate Debt and Amplify Your Wealth. That was one that I've done in the past and had pretty good success with it, but I did it a decent amount of times that I wanted to change it up slightly, still have the same content or idea around it, but just a different title. So the one that I did recently, and this is my second time doing it, was titled You Have Way More Money Than You Think, 5 Secrets to Unlock Your Money and Live Your Dream Life Now. And the reason I did that is because that's one thing that I realize with a lot of clients that I work with is they enter coaching and they feel like they don't have any money. They feel like everything's super tight and they don't know where it's all going. Right. But then we do an audit on them and it's well, you have all this money. It's just not working for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit pause on there for just a second and just let the audience have that marinate a little bit. You have in your master classes a lot of the same content, and what you're switching up is the title. So the thing that grabs people's attention, that's what you are shifting up. And when you do that, what you're talking to is whatever pain point you're starting to see in the market at the time.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Take notes on that, y'all, because that's important. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's the title.
So I like it. Well, I'd like to know how you set it up for people. What got them. So the title might have gotten their attention, but something else had to get them into the seats. And this is free. I keep saying that on purpose because this is not yet you receiving any money in exchange for this. So what kinds of marketing and stuff do you do for that?
Yeah, so I would do a mixture of like, social media posting, like email blasts to my email lists. I would maybe even do like some joint venture kind of ideas. So basically joint venture. So basically what that is like, you would work with another person who's in a similar but different industry, to have them like, do an email blast for you, or maybe you like hop on like a live stream with them, and they ask you about like the event and stuff like that, and you kind of promote it that way. And direct outreach as well. So, just like talking to people either, via text, phone call, direct message, whatever it might be. And just a mixture of all those different types of things. And, when you are promoting it, like, of course, like you would want to talk about like what the masterclass is, what it's called, what you'd be covering in it, all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I have found that really, really works really well is telling different like client testimonials. So, if there's like if I'm working with a client that like had a result or had an experience that was directly aligned with the topic of the masterclass, I would like tell that story on the post. And at the very end, I'd say, and this is exactly what we're going to be talking about or doing, or, if you want results just like this, then you can join in on this masterclass. It's free. Here's the information. Here's the link to join, kind of thing. So that's how I kind of got people in, was a mix of all those different types of things.
Okay, wonderful. Do you mind me asking how many people joined?
So I had 36 people register, which is kind of like, I would say medium for me. Usually like my normal is around, it's like between 40 and 50 registrants. Okay. But of those 36 who joined or who signed up for it, I had 15 people actually show up to the actual event, and that always happens. Always happens. You always have more people who register than actually show up, right?
Of course.
So that's kind of like the registrant rate and the show up rate.
Okay, great. So I want to make sure that we point out this is a live masterclass. This is not a webinar that people sign up for and can see at any given time. You are physically there during this particular event. Is it recorded for future people, or once they hear it, or once they miss it, that's it?
So I record it, but it's only for my purposes. Okay. So I can look back at it, see what I did well, see what I didn't do well, and improve it for next time. I do not offer a replay on the live ones. And that's kind of like one of those things that helps people show up too. It's like, hey, there's not going to be a replay. Right. So you better show up if you want to, be a part of this.
Okay, very good. So now that we know it's free, we know that it's live, and we know how to get some people in the seats, how about we look at some of the breakdown of the structure, the info that you include in there, and any other pieces of information like that you think are important?
Yeah. So what I will say is, like, as far as structure and content goes, I can kind of give like a 30,000 foot view as to, what it might be. But what I will say is, like, you want to give people enough value to where they feel like it was worth showing up to the masterclass and like they learned something. But you don't want to give them solutions, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get the value that you want to give them is, you want them to start thinking, I should be doing this. And I have like an idea of what I might need to do in order to get started. But you don't want to give them too much to where they have all the answers, because then like there's nothing to really build off of for them to want more from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that's important to remember. But as far as like the structure goes, 30,000 foot view, basically like you just have like a welcome page. You welcome people in. You would, one thing that I like to do is I like to call people out, and I tell them like, hey, throw in the chat like where you're from and why you're here kind of thing. So as I'm like, doing my little intro, I'll say, welcome so-and-so. I'm here. I see that you're here to do this. I love that, like blah, blah, blah. I'll call out like 3 or 4 people. And the idea behind that is just because like it makes them feel like they're acknowledged, and it makes them more invested as well. So I do that. And then from there, I'll kind of just say like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is why I'm doing this. And then I also, I have like this portion in the masterclass that says like, who is this for? So I'll go through and I'll say like, hey, like this is, if this is for you, if you are blank, 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 and blank. And at the very end, I'll say, so if that sounds like you're in the right place. And based off of the chat, I see that there's a lot of people who are in that place. So you are in the right place today for this masterclass. And then I kind of do like a very 30,000 foot view of what we'll be covering. So I'll say, hey, so in this masterclass within the next 60 minutes or however long it is, we're going to be going over X, Y, Z, A, and B, and C kind of thing. And then I just go into it, so on my end, I have 5 things. So what I would do is I would like make 5 different kind of like pieces that I think are going to be important for the said topic. And then I just kind of go into those things and I do, again, just like a 30,000 foot view to where I like get them thinking. I give them some new perspectives. I give them a little bit of value to where like maybe they could like, take a little bit of action on it, but I don't give them the solution quite yet. And then I move on to the next one. And not for every single point do I do this, but so for example, I have 5 points in this masterclass. On 3 of those points, I would end the point or end the teaching with a testimonial, or like a case study kind of thing that pertains to that specific teaching point. So I'll say like, hey, so we just talked about all this, but let's actually like hear from some other people who've actually done this. And this is what happened for them. This is what they said. This is how it affected them, blah, blah, blah. So this is like it's like a good kind of like look into what it actually looks like and how it can affect someone if they actually do it kind of thing.
Can I interrupt for just a second? When you say, here's what's happened for somebody who's actually done this, have you, and you aren't sharing a lot of the solutions. So have you shared what this is, or are you just kind of stating in generalities, somebody who had this problem, who followed the solutions that I walked them through, received these particular results?
The latter.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, like, I call budgeting money mapping. That's just my language that I like to use. So one of the teaching points in my masterclass is the importance of, mapping out your money kind of thing. And, I kind of do like a 30,000 foot overview of like why it's important, how it can benefit you, what might be holding you back, and, a few first steps that you can do in order to take that action. Right. And then at the end of it, I have a testimony from a client that's, talks about the idea of mapping out her money and how before she was going day by day and she was living in a lot of anxiety and pressure and confusion, but now she's feeling very confident. She's excited. She's clear. And with that, she was able to pay off, X amount of debt in so much time. And, she also saved this much money for a down payment for her house and all these different types of things. Right. And that's what I'm kind of talking about. It's like with this step, because she did this, she then was able to have this result.
So you ultimately name the solution, but you don't give the details about how to make it happen. So in that case, the solution is mapping your money, but that's just a really fancy title for you. You don't actually go into the details about how to do that. You don't give the resources on the masterclass of, here's the certain tools that I use, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. I don't give like a spreadsheet to them or anything like that. It's just enough value for them to understand it, understand why they should, why it's going to benefit them, and maybe like the first step of actually taking action on it. And that's it kind of thing. Now there is one to where like, I'll also, outline like what the debt snowball is. And in there, I will kind of go kind of deeper into teaching like, this is what the debt snowball is. This is how you do it. This is the way you should organize it. Here's why. Here's some other ways of paying off debt that aren't as beneficial. And here's why that's not as beneficial, and so on and so forth. So that one in particular, of the 5, I have one that I go really into detail on.
Gotcha.
Really into detail on.
And interestingly enough, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We just had a quick, our internet didn't work super well. But I think interestingly enough, the piece that you went into deeper detail with is information that is readily available on the internet from a lot of people. It's not something that is particular to you. And so I think that that's just another point for people to make note of. If you're going to choose something to go extra detailed into, make sure it's not your own, proprietary blend of what your intellectual property is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that one too is also one of the more practical ones as well.
Yes. I agree with that.
So yeah, so that's kind of like the whole structure of like the shifts or the teaching points. And then, towards the end, I would just say, okay, so we've learned this. Here's what we need to know in order to win. We need to do this. 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 And now you have a choice. So this is where the call to action comes into play. And so I'll be like, so you can either keep, being stressed out and, living in anxiety and like all those different types of things. Like, you describe like the hell, right? So you can say like, you can keep living in that like financial hell. Or if you're done with that and you want to live in the financial heaven and you explain what that looks like and what that feels like, then here's what I have for you. And then you do your call to action. And what my call to action is just a free breakthrough session or a free consultation kind of thing. And I'll just tell them like, this is what it is. This is, I have some time set aside this week and next week for you. This is what you're going to be getting on this call. This is what you should be expecting on this call. And I also tell them that like, the reason why I'm doing it. And the reason why I'm doing it is just to give back. And that's why I made this masterclass free in the first place. I could have charged $97 for this masterclass, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted to just give back and help people first and foremost. And that's my main intention with this breakthrough call as well. However, I do know that there might be some of you who are interested in taking things to the next level and potentially working with me. And we, of course, can discuss that and see if it makes if it's a mutual fit. But that's not the main intention, but we can do that too, kind of thing, at the very end of it, I kind of just like do one more kind of like call out to them. And I'll say something along the lines of like, so you guys just sat through this 60-minute, 90-minute presentation. And one thing that I've learned about you guys is that you see things through. You show up when you say that you're going to show up. You do what you say you're going to do. And you're serious about trying to fix this problem. And I know that for a fact, not only because you showed up and you sat through the whole thing, but because I had 40 people register for this and only, 15 of you actually showed up. And you're setting yourself aside from that. So you can sit here and go through this entire thing and you can listen to all these different testimonies, or you can be a testimony and you can step into that best version of yourself and you can actually affect the people around you, because once you start getting your situation in a better place, your friends, your family, your community around you are going to start asking you questions of how did you do that? And then you can create that massive ripple effect of impact that it's going to be so rewarding, much more than anything that's going to happen with your finances. So I acknowledge that for that as well. And then do another call to action that says, so if you are wanting to be that testimony, book a call now. And then I wrap it up. I just throw on some music, give them a little bit of time to, click the link to register or to set up the call. And, of course, I tell them if they have any questions about the call to hit me up in the chat, and I'd be happy to do that. And that's pretty much the whole structure. So
All
I'll tell
right.
you that from this last one, I had 36 people sign up, 15 people showed up. And then of those 15 people who were there, I had 8 people book a call with me on the call. And then after the call was done, I had 2 more kind of trickle in because maybe they were like, they weren't able to do it right then, but they were able to do it like an hour later kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's 10. And then the next day, I reached out to all the people who didn't show up at all to the masterclass. And I just said, hey, missed you on the masterclass. I know you signed up for a reason though. And one thing that I did at the very end of the masterclass was I offered this free breakthrough session. I wanted to extend that gift to you because I know that you did this for a reason, but maybe something came up that, was unexpected. Do you want to take advantage of that? And I got 5 more from that. So it turned out to be 15 calls from this one masterclass.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love it. Have you had any of them yet?
Nope. No. So that was, I had the masterclass, 2 days ago, and my next call is coming up here tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yep. Tomorrow morning. And actually I have 3 of them tomorrow. So
that'll be a nice busy day for you. Now, when you do the breakthrough session, we don't have to go into all the details about that, but for people who are just kind of curious as to that next step, what does that breakthrough session look like? Is it pretty short? Is it like a full-on hour? I know we've talked about consultations on this show before, and we could always make people go back, but if you don't mind just giving trickled information about that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, so for those of you who have listened in the past, you've heard me kind of talk about what my consultations look like.
Yeah.
For those of you who have never listened to that, go back and listen to it. I think it was relatively recently. But my consultations, they're a little bit longer. They're like 90 minutes. So that's what that is, and yeah.
So it's the same as what you would do with a normal consultation. It's not any different because these people came in through the masterclass. I think that's really what I'm trying to get at.
Nope.
Okay. So anyone who's listening doesn't have to create a whole new set of, sessions, if you will, or a whole new thing. Like this is just a different way to bring people into the same programs that you are already putting out there.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, good. I know that there is one, just a question about the logistics. What platform do you typically use for your masterclass?
I do it over Zoom.
Okay. So and that's super simple. So people are seeing each other since it's not a webinar, since it's all live, it's easy for them to be able to just hop in. You're using the chat system. You're able to drop links in there for scheduling, etc. So you will need to have a paid version of Zoom if you're doing that. Those of you who are listening, because it will be longer and you have more than the one or 2 people. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And I was just thinking, Cody, that would actually be a really great topic to do. Maybe we'll just do this next week, but the idea of what are some of the things that you're going to have in place in order for some of this stuff to take place. So, I mean, you mentioned Zoom, and I know that you also said that you have a scheduler that, people are able to go and book a call on.
Yep.
So I think that would actually be something. So how would you feel about doing that maybe on our next episode, just talking about some of those things that you're going to have actually in place before getting started as a financial coach, in case some of the people who are listening are like, oh, I got nothing. I have no idea where to even start.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. That's something that I think a lot of coaches, especially as they're getting started, have questions about. It's like, because they want to have everything in place. They don't want to be missing anything. And I was the same way when I first started too. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, cool. Well, we can get into that next week, but for right now, what I want to do as we're wrapping up is just let you guys know we don't want the fear of not having everything absolutely perfectly in order to be the thing that stops you from starting. So for the purposes of a masterclass, all you need to have, it sounds like, is Zoom, a paid account for that, maybe even the lowest paid account for it. And then also some way of having people get onto your calendar. So that way you'll have those things in place. Those are the only tech things that you would need. And then the rest of it is just content, and it's stuff from your mind. And so make sure that you are out there getting people into seats. Sometimes you could even do that before you get it going. I know that sounds crazy, but it wouldn't be the first time that I actually marketed something before it was actually completed. Because in my mind, I'm like, if no one's going to want it, then why am I going to spend all my time creating this thing that nobody wants? But once somebody says, yes, that sounds like exactly what I need, then that gives me the motivation to go ahead and get that going for that person. So that is another approach that you guys can take as well. All right. Yeah. I think that is all that I had for questions about all the stuff I saw. Do you anticipate any other questions from our listening audience, Cody, that we haven't already addressed?
I don't think so. There is one thing that I wanted to add as far as like a resource to have for hosting a masterclass. Perfect. Because you mentioned Zoom and the scheduler. Yep. It would also be a really, really good idea to have some form of like a CRM as well. So that you can do things like collecting their name, email, and phone number for your growing list, because doing masterclasses is a great way to grow your list. But it's also really good for like automated emails for the people who do sign up. So sending out like an email a week before, 2 days before, the day before, the day of, an hour before, 5 minutes before, like all that kind of stuff, So that would really be helpful too. It's not completely necessary to do it, but you're going to be glad that you have it, for sure.
Perfect. So we'll get into some of those details next week. So for those of you who are like just antsy and ready to get going, start doing some of the content, start doing some of the, just networking, getting butts in seats type of thing. And then tune in next week for some of the details about like what CRMs and, some of the other tech stuff that you're going to want to have in place. And then you'll be ready to go after that week is up. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Cody, as always, for letting me just basically troll your Instagram and Facebook and find what you're doing and then bring it to our audience. That's always a fun way to figure out what to talk about. We also enjoy finding what actually you're looking forward to talking about. And we actually do that by reading a lot of the questions that you guys pose in our Facebook group. So just one last reminder that if you haven't yet joined that, we encourage you to do so. It is the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits on Facebook. And if you ever have a question that you want us to answer right here on the show, let us know. We'll be happy to do that. See you next week, Cody. Bye, guys. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching. Music provided by Summer School.